In our last walk, we watched Arthur pull the sword from the stone, a moment rooted in iron and earth. Stone does not move, it waits, it endures. But many of the old stories tell us that this was not the sword Arthur carried into his greatest battles. The sword in the stone proved who he was. Excalibur determined how he would rule. Excalibur was not taken by strength, it was given, and it was given by the water. Imagine standing on a bank like this one. The air is damp, the surface of the lake grey and unreadable. Legend tells us that Merlin led Arthur to such a place, and from the centre of the water an arm rose up, clothed in white, Semite, mystic, wonderful, holding the blade. This is where the story shifts, away from stone and certainty and into something older, deeper and far less solid. In folklore, true power rarely comes from castles or crowns. It comes from places like this. Wild edges, quiet waters and landscapes that feel as though they are watching you. So who was the Lady of the Lake? In different versions of the legend, she is called Nimue, Vivian, or simply the Lady. And the lack of uncertainty matters. She isn't a woman in human sense. She is a being of the other world. To our ancestors, the land itself was alive. Rivers, lakes, hills, they were not owned, they were negotiated with. The Lady of the Lake represents sovereignty, not political power, but the deeper idea that the land must accept you before you can rule it. Arthur becomes king, not because he is strong enough, but because the land, through water, allows it. And like the water, the lady is a jewel in nature. She gives power, but she also withholds it. She raises Lancelot, yet later brings about his tragedy. She grants Arthur his sword, yet imprisons Merlin, the very man who brought her into the story. She is beautiful, yes, but so is deep water, and both can be unforgiving. There's a detail in the legend that often slips past us. Merlin once asked Arthur a question. Which do you prize more, the sword or the scabbard? Arthur chose the sword. Well, of course he did. But Merlin told him he was wrong. The scabbard, he said, was worth 10 swords, and as long as Arthur wore it, he would never lose blood, no matter how grievous the wounds. The sword is the power to strike, the scabbard is the power to endure, and both came from the lady. It's a quiet piece of folklore wisdom. Survival matters more than spectacle. Protection is more powerful than aggression, and fittingly, both protection comes from the water, the source of life, healing, and renewal. At the end of Arthur's life, the story closes the way it began. Mortally wounded, he orders Bedivere to return Excalibur to the lake. Twice Bedivere cannot do it. The sword is too beautiful, too valuable and too heavy for meaning. But on the third attempt, he throws it far out into the water, and before it can sink, the arm rises again, catches the blade, brandishes it 3 times, and disappears beneath the surface. Arthur never owned Excalibur, he borrowed it, and that is perhaps the quiet truth of the heart of this story. We walk these landscapes as if they belong to us, cross bridges, draw water, admire the views, but like Arthur, we are only ever temporary. The sword returns, the king fades, water remains, and somewhere beneath the surface, the lady waits.